I've told people a little bit about yourself, but let's talk a little bit about what you've done here in Kalamazoo. Now, this is your 11th season, I understand?
11th year already, yes. Boy,
Yeah.
time flies.
I know, definitely. Now, I know that you've done a lot of programming. In fact, you just recently had a program up at Miller Auditorium. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we just did a concert that was one of the most popular pieces. It's called The Four Seasons. It's by Vivaldi, and it's a great piece that's for violin solo and orchestra, and it goes through all the four seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And just to be a little bit different, I decided to have four different soloists. Each one did a season, and it was really kind of neat for the audience to hear the different styles and the different personalities. So we had a good time with that one.
It definitely was. I was there at that particular performance, and it was definitely in that different soloists worked.
Yeah,
it really did. You know, you got a chance to see the different styles. Now, tell us, how did you get involved in classical music?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I, like a lot of African Americans, got involved because of the church. And when I was a kid growing up in New York City and out in Long Island, my parents were very much, churchgoers. They sang in the choirs. So church was a real part of my early growing up. And my mother is a pianist, an amateur pianist, and I begged her to teach me how to play the piano. And mother's being busy, she didn't have too much time for me, so she gave me a hymn book. And she put the hymn book on the piano and said, "Here are the notes, you figure it out yourself."
Wow.
And so I started picking out, the hymns and reading the hymns and put my right hand together and my left hand together and just started playing everything I could find in the house. And I was lucky that my parents were supportive. No one else in their family had gone into classical music, but they could see that I loved it. They could see that I was good at it, and they were the type of parents that said, if this is something that our son wants to do, let's encourage him as much as we can.
Right.
So that was really great.
Wow. Well, we're glad they did. And that's the thing. Early exposure that you had to classical music. I think that's something because you and I both know, and we was talking about it off air there. Sometimes I wouldn't say the lack of interest from African Americans in the classical, but I think it's a combination of interest and knowledge and exposure.
Exposure, sure, sure it is.
Exposure
right.
plays a good part.
And the other thing that always has surprised me, people get so nervous about classical music. They're so stressed out about, are they going to enjoy it? Are they going to understand it? Are they going to do the wrong thing or the right thing? It's music, you sit there, you listen to it, you get thrilled by it, it washes over you. We're not scared about going to a new restaurant. We're not scared about going to the theater.
Right.
It's worth it to experience some of this powerful stuff. And I just encourage people, make a night on the town, go out and hear the Kalamazoo Symphony and have a good time.
Right. Now, speaking of the Kalamazoo Symphony, I don't know the night that I was there with that program. You had some parts you did it with a smaller group, just the violins and what have you.
Right.
So, was that the whole symphony, or that particular night, or you just had a? We
pride ourselves in being able to do a wide variety of types of things. When we're at our biggest number of people in the symphony, we're about 90 musicians. But there's music that we play that doesn't call for 90 people, so we do the music that maybe calls for 30 people. We did a great Motown celebration with the Velvelettes back in October, and that was a smaller group that had to have some jazz piano and some bass and drums as part of it. But we'll do something like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with full orchestra and full chorus and the whole bit.
Right. Now, I know you started out, playing on the piano, but how did you move from just playing the piano to the conducting part of it?
Well, I got involved because I was in New York, I started going to all the Broadway shows, and I just fell in love with theater and with Broadway stuff. And that got me into singing and acting. And when I went to Oberlin College, I kind of put it together with classical piano and with theater and all of that. I decided that I wanted to learn about opera. I wanted to learn about chorus music. And someone once asked me whether I wanted to get up in front of a group and conduct them, and I figured, why not? I can get up and tell people what to do. So that sort of started me off. And so I did choral conducting, I taught school, I did orchestral conducting, I did opera conducting, and it's really great to work with other musicians, to work with singers, to work with instrumentalists, and to bring music to life, all kinds of music.
Right. Well, when you said bring it to life, when you did the Four Seasons, and when you did spring, I could picture spring.
Right.
When you did autumn,
right.
I mean, I just felt that.
And now you're picturing winter.
And picturing winter, and I pictured that when you did
right.
the winter part. It all played out right there.
Right.
Through the music.
And exactly, it's exactly that you can't really explain to people who haven't gone and haven't experienced it what it's like. That you don't have to know all the terminology. You don't have to know all the Italian words or whatever.
Right.
You just enjoy this because it's great sounding stuff, and it really touches the soul.
Right. It did. It really did. And not only me, I could see it with everybody around.
That's
now,
great.
I want the listening audience. I'm gonna give you just a few seconds to get a pencil and paper in your hand, because I'm going to ask him a question that can help you. So just 1 second, go on and get that pencil and paper. Now, if you can remember it, then just do it. But the question I wanted to ask you, if I was just getting into, and like I told you, I had gotten exposure to classical music through the music appreciation class in college. But say I was just out there, never had anything, never listened to anything. What would you suggest be the first thing I listen to indoctrinate me to classical music? Is there something you would recommend?
I think that you've got to do a little bit of experimenting to see what kind of appeals to you. And maybe the first thing to do is to borrow someone else's CDs, flip around to some classical music stations, just listen to something that you don't normally listen to, perhaps, and just see whether you like it. And if you like it, find out about it. Find out, who was that composer? Who wrote that piece? I had a friend who he liked the sound of one particular composer's piece, and he systematically went about trying to find everything he could possibly find that was written by that composer. Which is a great way to start. Start from what you like, and your taste will grow. And one other little comment I have to make. Just because you're experimenting with one kind of music doesn't mean that you have to give up other kinds of music. No one's asking you to make a choice. If you like R&B, you like R&B, and maybe every now and again a little classical symphony. You don't have. It's not either or. It's a little of this and a little of that.
Right. That's why I wanted you to have that pistol down there. I wrote those. You wrote those little tips down too. Now experimenting with other music. What other type of music do you listen to sometimes? I
listen to jazz. I mean, I love listening to jazz, and I'm not good at it myself, which is probably why I really like to listen to it. But I'll do that. I love female vocalists. That really gets me, me going. And it depends on the mood you're in. There are things that you're in a certain kind of energy zone, and you want a certain kind of music, and that's great.